Hi, my name is Jon Soto, and today I'm going to explain how important airplanes are in today's modern world, how an airplane is able to seemingly defy gravity and take off, and also how it's able to stay in the air once it is at cruising altitude. Now, today, billions of people every year take airplanes to get them from one place to another in a quick and easy way. Airplanes enable people to cut down travel time significantly. For example, an 8 to 9 hour drive from Lincoln to Colorado can be cut down to about an hour and a half by flying. Also, flying is much safer than driving long distances. Without airplanes in today's modern world, it would be next to impossible for a for let's say a businessman in New York to get to Japan in little under a day. Now, so many people fly in airplanes every day, yet many do not really know or understand how a plane works. Well, in order for a plane to take off, the lift force has to be greater than the force of the plane's weight going down. And this is accomplished by the engines, wings, and also is assisted by the pilot raising the nose of the plane up to about 10 degrees during takeoff. The engines propel the airplane forward at great speeds. Meanwhile, the airplane's wings create a lift force by forcing the passing air down onto the ground, causing a reaction force to push back up on the plane, thus making it slowly move upward in the air. The action is assisted by the flaps on the airplane's wings, which create a greater angle between the plane and the ground, thus making there being more air going down towards the ground. And all of that put together makes the simple airplane take off into the air. Now, while in the air, the airplane is propelled forward by a thrust force resulting from the engines. While the airplane is closer to sea level on the ground before it takes off, the thrust force will have to be very large because the drag force, which is the force of the air particles pushing on the front of the plane, most likely the nose, is very large due to the thickness of the air. But while the airplane is at its cruising altitude, which is about 3,000 feet, the air up there is much thinner. This causes the drag force to be a lot smaller than it would be at ground level. So since the drag force is much smaller, the thrust force of the airplane does not need to be as high for it to go fast. This also in turn saves the airplane companies money on fuel because the thrust force does not need to be as high to go, like, let's say 400 miles an hour at 3,000 feet. Now, the way the airplane stays in the air is similar to the way that it takes off. The engines force the airplane to cut through the air, and then the wings then in turn force the air to go down, thus making the airplane go up, just like as when it's taking off. Now, the speed of the airplane while it's in the air is also very, very high. This also assists in pushing that air down, and it makes it go much faster. Also, since the air is already at cruising altitude, it does not need to have a great lift force as if it was on ground, because it does not need to get any higher than it already is. It just needs to stay there. And that is how an airplane stays in the air. Today, we talked about how important airplanes are in the modern world. Also, we talked about how airplanes seem to defy gravity every time they take off. And then lastly, I looked at how airplanes are able to stay in the air once they're at cruising altitude. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something today.